data doesn't have to be scary. Don't be fearful of it. Numbers don't have to look like a spreadsheet. It can be visual. It can be something you can quickly look at and get an idea of what's happening in your business. And so, yeah, it doesn't need to be scary. It actually brings a lot of clarity and a lot of direction.
Hello, Profit First entrepreneurs and thought leaders. I am so excited. We have a really special guest with us. Her name is Donna Dube, and Donna is the founder of a company called Productivity Plus. And Donna specializes in helping six-figure entrepreneurs maximize their profits without having to do constant work and burnout by using smart, data-driven business technology in order to make business decisions and really be able to manage their ongoing operations. She likes to say data helps you stop leaks, find opportunities, and boost revenue. So know your numbers and grow your business. So today, join me in welcoming Donna Dube to our podcast, The Profit Talk, and let's talk about data today. Hey, Donna, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. Thank you, Suzanne. Nice to be here.
Thank you. So let's talk about data and your experience with numbers and entrepreneurs and their thought. How did you get into this?
Yes. So actually, it's funny. How I got into this was working with a client. And so I was working with a client in the project management side of things. And she was busy on all platforms of social media and wasn't sure which platforms were working and which wasn't. So therefore, because we didn't know, put all energy on all of them. And in the background of my mind, I'm thinking, no, there's got to be a better way here. I can see her working overtime, being overwhelmed, being exhausted, and not knowing what was really working. And so I gave her a proposition and said, why don't we work on the back end, get into Google Analytics, and let's clean up your data and have a look at it and really see where your people are coming from. And what we found was surprising, and usually is surprising. And what we found is that there were certain channels where she was getting lots of engagement and lots of people, but actually where her return on investment was, where people were converting and actually buying, was a totally different platform. And so being able to bring her that clarity just really opened my eyes and said, no, I need to do more of this. One, I enjoy it, but two, it just helps bring so much clarity and direction into what business leaders are doing and making for their next decisions.
I love it. I love it. So your friend was like wasting her time, right? Here's a little hint, entrepreneurs, people that buy are probably your quietest audience, right? They're too busy to be following you and liking your posts. So look at the quiet ones. I love that. And so let's talk about metrics for a little bit. Let's talk about metrics. Let's talk about data. Let's talk about, first of all, what are some key metrics that our entrepreneurs need to be focusing on? What do they need to be looking at in order to really stay on top of their business?
Yes, very good question. And one that most have, because the truth of the matter is, Suzanne, there is so much data out there, right? If you think data is just something that can be measured, and with all the technology we have today, every piece of software we're using has some sort of analytics associated with it. And so we can measure how many people opened an email, how many people clicked, how many people went to our website, how far down the website they got. It's just overwhelming sometimes the amount of data we can choose. And so I always say to business owners, you need to start with where you are now in your business and your vision, where you're going in the next 12 months. Because what's most important to you and your business might be different from your business bestie or your business coach or somebody else you're following online. And so you have to really hone in on what's your vision, where do you want to go in the next 12 months, and what metrics do you need to measure to reach those goals.
I love that. And so knowing where we're going is going to really allow us to figure out on what metrics we need to look at. So what are some common metrics that you typically recommend the entrepreneurs monitor?
Yes, definitely. So there are some normal, if you want to say, or common metrics or KPIs, key performance indicators that we look at commonly across most successful business. And those fall under three core pillars. And so it's going to be marketing, which is things like your website traffic, your conversion on your lead pages or your sales pages, those types of things, your Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads that you're doing, what the conversion rate on that, what the cost is on that. That's sort of your marketing side. So those types of metrics we look at. The second pillar is operations. And so here I'm talking about your client experience. How are people moving through your client journey? Are people dropping off if you have a membership? What's your churn rate? How many people are abandoning your cart before they're actually buying? Those types of things. And we can also look at team efforts in here. So if you have a team, how many hours are your team putting into certain projects? And is it giving you a return on investment? And then the third pillar is looking at financials, one that we're most commonly talking about, but obviously revenue, expenses, our profit, and the different trends. Maybe you have a business that's more seasonal and you sell like crazy in the winter and it's slower in the summer, right? Or you sell a certain product a lot more in certain months for whatever reason. And so looking at those trends and patterns becomes very important.
Very, very interesting. And so, a lot of times with entrepreneurs, when it comes to looking at data, and I'm sure you've seen it too, you can kind of see like the glaze go over their eyes as you start asking about numbers and budgets and things like that. What's an easy way for these entrepreneurs to really get started on creating these metrics and monitoring them and doing something about those?
Yeah, for sure. And you're right, Suzanne, is that it can be very overwhelming when you start looking at it. But what I want to do is take the fear away and let people know that numbers is just an answer to a question. So if you want to know, did my sales funnel for selling product X, was it profitable? How many people got to my sales page, made it to the checkout page, and actually bought? What was my conversion? Then start with just those numbers. Start small. Don't start measuring everything all at once, but start with something that's most important to you right now in your business. And, you can start with a simple spreadsheet. It doesn't have to be a fancy dashboard. Personally, I find a lot of business owners that I work with and visionaries that I work with prefer a dashboard. And when I say dashboard, what I'm looking at is basically like the dashboard in your car. If you were going to go for a drive across state, you would look at your dashboard. Is my engine light on? Is my gas full? Do I need to change my oil? You want to know the health of your car before you make a long trip. And we want to do the same in business. We want to know the health of our business. We want to know where our business is headed so we can make smart decisions going forward. And so a visual dashboard gives us a quick look at the health of our business so we can know where we are and where we want to go.
So to create a dashboard, is there a recommended software that you have, or what's the best way to create a dashboard? Because I know for a lot of these entrepreneurs out there creating macros and things like that, it's a little bit outside maybe their specialty.
Yes, for sure. So you can create a dashboard for free using software tools. So for example, Google Analytics is already pulling a lot of data about how people are getting to your website and what they're doing on your website. And so a lot of the data is in there already. And then you can use another product called Google Data Studio. And that just feeds the data in from Google Analytics. And then you can set it up in a pie chart, in a bar graph, in a table, whatever works for the questions that you're answering. So that's one way you can do it for free. There are other software tools which you can pay for, on a monthly subscription to integrate with, Google Analytics or other software, your Facebook ads, other software tools. And so it can be done through paid, but it can also be done free. And no, you don't have to look at spreadsheets and pivot tables.
Love it. I know when I work with entrepreneurs, sometimes the best way that I see is to automate it, get the manual out of it. Whether it's, finding off the shelf tools, and I don't want to endorse anyone, but, like QuickBooks Time, which allow you to do some job costing, automating, as much as you can, so these reports you can pull them in a second, it really makes a big difference in order to be able to monitor these metrics.
Yes, for sure. And that's exactly what you can do with the Data Studio or even the paid ones, is that once you've set it up, the data automatically will fill in. And so you just go in and say, okay, I want date range from January 1st to, January 23rd, and it'll pull the data from that. And you can even compare to the previous period or compare to last year. As long as the data is in Google Analytics to begin with, then you can view it.
So where does it go wrong? Where does it go wrong with creating these dashboards, creating these KPIs, key performance indicators? Where does it go wrong?
Yeah, I think a big part where it goes wrong is not putting the time and energy in at the beginning to find out what really affects my bottom line as a business owner and what I actually need to measure. Because again, the tools are there. You can measure anything under the sun, but just because you can measure it doesn't mean you should. And so there's a quote by Warren Buffett. I'm trying to remember now. I think it's, if you can't read the scoreboard, you don't know the score. And if you don't know the score, you can't tell the winners from the losers. And so really figuring out what's going to be the score for you in your business game, and then measuring that forward and not worrying about the fact that there's 500 other metrics that you're not looking at, really focusing on what you need to focus. And so I tell business owners, 8 to 12 metrics is enough. You don't need 25, because then it just gets overwhelming trying to look at it. And so start with a smaller number and really look at those and look at the trends with those.
So let's talk about implementation, because a lot of business owners that I meet, usually when you get into the 7 figures or multi-7, you can usually hire someone internally that can start helping you with those metrics. But when you're, 6-figure business and growing business under that 7-figure mark, a lot of times it's hard to have time to do these kind of things, right? Or even have the person that can do that. What are some ways that they can easily implement this, and who should be doing this, and what does maintenance look like for them?
Yeah, right. So again, it depends. If they want to do it themselves, they can. But yes, it's going to take time, because first of all, when you get in Google Analytics, there's usually optimization that needs to be done. And so if it isn't their area of expertise, I usually suggest that they hire that out, get the dashboard built, and then they can follow that and follow the trends through. It's a lot less time on their part. So for example, you can find service providers who will build that dashboard for you. I'm one of them. And there'll be a certain project fee to build that. And then following that, there may be a small maintenance fee to keep those data lines running, or if things change. If people have a new link, they start a new program and they want to start tracking their data based on that program, then there's minor edits that need to be made. But the nice part is that, at least if someone's working with me, and what I like to do is have a regular meeting with the business owner once a month. And so I will pull their data a few days before the meeting, send it to them so they can see it, play with it. And then I'll also send them a walkthrough video, which shows my insights of what I saw. So this is what you did, or this is what you said you were going to do in your business. And this is how the results changed. Oh, look over here, we lost some over here, or we gained some over here. And then we have a Zoom meeting to go over the details and just discuss strategies going forward.
I love it. Very, very interesting from that standpoint. And usually, how long does it take to really get something like this established?
Right. So if they have Google Analytics already set up on their website, then that takes off some of it. There are a few meetings up front to sort of strategize and find out which metrics are most important. And so I would say the whole process is about a 2 or 3 month process to have the dashboard ready to go with the metrics that are most important to them. From the business owner's standpoint, it's 2 or 3 meetings. It's not a lot of their time. It's more my time in the back end.
Very, very good. And so, Donna, for anyone that is looking to get this done and really be able to create these KPIs and these metrics, what advice do you have for them in terms of getting started, and what's their next best step?
Right. So I would say spend some time looking at what your most important objective or goal is for the next 12 months, and ask yourself, how am I going to measure that I met that goal? So, for example, if one of your goals is increase revenue, take it a little bit further than that. By how much, right? Is it from a certain program or course or client that you want to increase the revenue by? And make it something measurable. So, for example, I'd like to increase revenue by 20%. That's something that can be measured. And so then you can use the dashboard to say, did I reach that goal or not? If you just say, I want to increase revenue, well, did we meet the goal or not? It's not measurable. And so I would say start with your biggest goals for 2022, and then ask yourself, how am I going to measure these goals? And from there, you can find the data that you need to be able to measure them.
Thank you. As we close out, one of the things that I like to ask our guests is, if you could leave our entrepreneurs with one piece of advice, it could be business or personal, what would that advice be?
Good question. I would say data doesn't have to be scary. Don't be fearful of it. Numbers don't have to look like a spreadsheet, even though Suzanne loves spreadsheets. It doesn't have to look like a spreadsheet. It can be visual. It can be something you can quickly look at and get an idea of what's happening in your business. And so, yeah, it doesn't need to be scary. It actually brings a lot of clarity and a lot of direction.
Thank you. And Donna, how can our listeners and viewers, how can they reach out to you? How can they find you? How can they work with you to learn more?
Oh, good. Yes. So they can find me at my website, which is productivityplusva.ca. And if they go there and go to the resources tab, I have a guide, which is the 10 most popular KPIs you can start measuring today. And so it'll go through some of the ones we talked about today and help them get started.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us.
You're welcome. I'm glad I can. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.